Welcome to PD on a Pinch, where you can find big ideas even when you're short on time. For today's session, we're going to be talking about externalizing anxious thoughts and teaching kids to develop the coping thought, worry isn't in charge of me. Before we get started, if we don't know each other yet, I'm Keri. I'm a school counselor at a K-6 school on the beautiful island of Oahu. I am an author and a mom of 3, and I'm also a former gifted but undiagnosed anxious child who got an ADHD diagnosis in adulthood. So a lot of these strategies that I'll be sharing are things that I think would have been really helpful for me as an anxious kid, and they are strategies that I share with my anxious students on a daily basis. Okay, let's get to the work of teaching kids to externalize those anxious thoughts. Before we get to the how, let's look at the why. Why does externalizing work? So externalizing comes from narrative therapy and CBT. It's just the practice of separating the person from the problem. A student can say, I am anxious. That shows that they're kind of internalizing that feeling. But instead, when they say worry is showing up again, they're creating space. And that space helps shift from shame and blame to problem solving. And externalizing helps change the story from, oh no, I'm anxious again, to, hey, worry is showing up again. And it can encourage curiosity instead of fear. What is worry doing here again? What is worry trying to tell me? So that's why it works. Let's look at how to introduce it to our students. We want to focus on 4 main areas. First, of course, we always want to use developmentally appropriate language for our students and just match that to where they are right now. But it really helps to personify the worry. That's when we're externalizing it, we're pulling it out, we're giving it a name, we're giving it a voice, we're giving it a face or a shape, creating a character. So you could ask your students, what if your worry had a name? What does it sound like when it talks to you? Really personify it and do some character development. And then, of course, we want to normalize it. And this is true of anything we're doing in counseling. We want to make sure that our students understand that they're not alone in this. Everyone feels worried sometimes, and that's okay. It's okay that you're feeling that way, but here's a strategy that you can use that will help. And then lastly, we can use metaphors to help them understand what worry is. It could be something like an annoying mosquito that just keeps buzzing in your ear, or a barking dog that's trying to warn you of danger, or just some sort of like annoying narrator or character that's trying to tell you what to do in your life. We're just creating a simple shared language that we can refer back to every time we meet with our student. So let's look at some prompts that can be helpful in these counseling sessions. So these prompts are going to help us do the work of that character development, but also give us some insight into what our student's dealing with. So we can ask them, what does your worry voice sound like? Is it mean? Is it bossy? Or is it kind of mousy? When does it show up most often? Is it before a test? Is it when you're hanging out with friends? And then what name would you give your worry? And what does your worry want you to believe? What is it trying to tell you, right? It's just helping them to build that internal profile so that they can develop this character of their worry, this externalized character. So they might come up with something like bossy Brenda or mean Steve. Or maybe they're imagining their worry like a squeaky wheel on a shopping cart that's a nuisance as you're trying to do what you need to do. Maybe it tells them nobody likes them or that they're going to fail the test. The more specific and the more playful they get, the more distance they're creating from themselves and that worry. Once they've developed that profile, they can get creative with it, right? They can draw their worry, they can create their character out of art supplies that you have. Maybe they want to make a little trading card or puppet of their worry character. You might also want to do some journaling with your students, some 2-column journaling with what worry says and what I can say back to it to help them start to build that dialogue when they have externalized their anxiety and they're talking back to it. Some students will really like to create a comic strip of them talking to their worry and making it smaller. The idea is to let students lead the way with their creativity so they have more buy-in and they're more invested in the process. These are some examples of worry monsters that you can create with your students. First, we have the watercolor worry monsters, where they drop a blob of watercolor on their paper and then use a straw to do some controlled breathing and blow the watercolor across the page. Once it dries, you can add eyeball stickers or you can decorate it as you wish and give it a name. The second one, this is part of a worry curriculum that I use with my younger students, where they're just kind of choosing from 2 options to describe their worry, and then they create a little monster that they can use to talk back. And then we just have some simple monsters. They can use different parts to create whatever they want. You could also create a worry monster stress ball if you want. I fill balloons with rice and then just let students draw a face on them. You can do whatever you want to do with those. But those are simple ways to help students creatively create a worry monster that they can actually look at and talk to while they're working on this externalizing process. I also have a ready-made kit that students can use when they're working on this worry creature and they're developing it, and it has some specific prompts that really help them to do that character development of what does it look like, what does it sound like, when does it show up most often, what is it saying to you, and what does its voice sound like. And then it kind of guides them through some calming strategies that they can use when their worry character shows up, and then gives them some phrases and some dialogue that they can use to talk back to their worry character. Then they can create a little one-pager or a little reference book with all of that information that they've come up with to keep on hand. The character development piece is creative and it's really fun, but the really important part is what we do with it, with our role play and our rehearsal. So we want to help our students practice talking back to the worry. We can try doing it in different tones of voice, being really assertive when we talk to our worry character, or maybe they want to be silly, maybe they want to be kind. Say something like, I get it that you're looking out for me, but I don't need your help today, or you're wrong about this one. Some kids need to say, back off, worry, while others might say, thanks for the heads up, but I'm okay. We want to let them rehearse using their own voice after we've modeled tone and pacing. Let's look at a specific example. Maybe a student has developed a worry monster named Boris who tends to show up before tests, and Boris always tells her, you're going to fail and you're going to look stupid. But the student's response that she's going to rehearse saying back to Boris is, hey, I studied. I might be nervous now, but that does not mean I'm going to fail. So we practice this in session so that when that test time does come and Boris shows up and is telling her, you're going to fail and you're going to look stupid, she already has the language and she already knows what to do. She can picture Boris, she can imagine that he's standing in front of her, and she can say, no, I studied, I feel nervous and that's okay, but that does not mean that I'm going to fail. The language is there because we've practiced it. Externalizing our anxiety and using this worry creature idea is really great with younger students and concrete thinkers. We can do this in individual sessions or in group counseling, and it's really helpful when we want our students to develop that self-talk language that they can use when they are feeling anxious. Obviously, if a student is feeling really dysregulated and anxious in the moment, we're not going to start asking them to create a character. This is something that we do in the safety of our counseling office so that we can explore it when they are feeling regulated, and we can help them develop the language in the safety of the session. This is another strategy that's great for students to have in their toolbox and works really well even if we pair it with other strategies like worry time. They could tell their worry monster, hey Boris, I don't have time to talk to you right now. I'll talk to you at worry time, right? So it's just another skill that they can have that they can fall back on when they are feeling anxious. So something else to teach them so that they feel confident when those anxious thoughts do start to sneak in. Externalizing helps kids to say, hey, worry isn't the boss of me. They start to see worry as something that they can notice, name, and talk back to. I have lots of resources available. If you want to make a worry creature kit like this one, you can scan the QR code, or I'll link it down below in the description, but this will give you all of those prompts that you can use to help your students develop their worry creature. It also comes with lots of worry creatures that are already made if they just want to choose one that's available. Thanks for joining me for PD in a Pinch. If you want to keep learning more about cognitive behavioral strategies to support students with anxiety in the school setting, you can scan this QR code right here or check the links in the caption down below. I also have a book that's available for students called the Worry Warriors Guidebook and Journal for Kids, and it's full of evidence-based strategies to help kids understand and address their worries. Before you go, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a school counseling idea, and follow me on all your favorite social media platforms at Counselor Keri. I'll talk to you soon.